Today, we dive into Pigpen, a psychological horror manhwa created by the legendary Carnby Kim, the mastermind behind Sweet Home and Bastard. It follows a young man who wakes up stranded on a mysterious island, trapped with a family that may, or may not, be human. As he searches for a way out, he begins to uncover terrifying truths about the island and about himself. Twisted minds, buried sins, and shocking revelations await. This is the story of Pigpen. The story opens with a young man washed ashore, wreckage scattered around him like bones. His mind is blank, no name, no past. So for now we'll call him X. Among the debris floats something absurd, a red mailbox. He drags it upright in the sand, circles the shoreline but finds only silence. No boats, no voices, just the crash of waves. With nowhere else to go, he pushes inland. Branches claw at him as the storm breaks, rain lashing down. A dead phone in his pocket offers no help. Then, as lightning splits the sky, he sees it, a house looming in the distance. That night he dreams a news broadcast about 2 missing students. A man in a cafe leaning close, whispering, "It's you, isn't it?" He wakes with his heart pounding in an unfamiliar guest room. From the start, little things feel wrong. A woman mopping what looks like blood greets him with a smile that never falters. A sharp-eyed girl teases him playfully, but her grin turns too bright when she hears of his amnesia, muttering, "Good," as she leaves. When he presses for answers, they refuse to tell him where he is or what this island really is. Then the family appears, gathered in the doorway, silent and watching. Their faces unreadable. Something in this house isn't right. That afternoon, X joins the family for lunch. At first, everything seems ordinary, but when the hostess leans in to ask how it tastes, she lingers too long even after he replies. When he recognizes the sauce, her smile flickers, just for a second, before snapping back in place. Worse still, the tea in his cup is blood red, reminding him of the stains he saw. When the sisters argue, it isn't harmless bickering. Their words cut like knives, sharp enough to sound like hatred. And over it all sits the father calm, commanding, his silence heavier than words. Later, in the kitchen, X offers to clean the dishes. Alone, his eyes linger on the knives, gleaming by the sink. He slides one under his shirt. That night, unease claws at him as he thinks about the missing students, his hand brushing the knife hidden beneath his pillow. Then, the door creaks. The hostess enters without knocking. She crosses the room and presses her hands onto his shoulders as she asks if he had taken it, the kitchen knife. His chest tightens. He denies it, but her grip lingers a moment too long before she clasps her hands together and murmurs, "Maybe Yumi took it," smiling. She wishes him good night and leaves. Only then does he notice the keyhole in the door, hollow, dug out. Anyone could watch him sleep. That night, X is unable to fall asleep. His mind races, searching for answers, who he is, how he ended up here. Then movement in the dark catches his eye. Minu slipping out with a weary-looking man. Clutching the knife under his pillow, X creeps to the door. From the kitchen, he hears hushed voices, the family whispering, already suspecting him of the missing blade. Heart pounding, he slips into the night. Outside, Minu gives the stranger quiet instructions, then leaves. The man spits a curse at the family under his breath. From the shadows, X approaches. Behind the workshed, the man introduces himself as Tae, though he's surprised X doesn't recognize him. And here, the cracks in X's mind begin to widen. Tae warns him about the crazy family, insisting he saw X just last night, stumbling through the rain, half delirious. He recalls watching X approach the house, relieved to have survived the forest when a hooded figure appeared behind him, holding a shovel. The image hits like a blow itself. The swing, the crack of metal on bone. X freezes as his blood runs cold. Tae studies him closely, voice low, warning that he'll need to prove himself useful to the family. For what purpose, he doesn't say. Back in the house, the night offers no comfort. The hostess drifts through the hallway, pausing outside his door. Her shadow lingers at the hollow keyhole as she whispers, "Are you sleeping?" When she receives no answer, she looks in to find X motionless beneath the covers. Then, almost laughing, she murmurs, "How could anyone sleep under these circumstances?" She moves on, her footsteps fading, leaving X rigid beneath the blanket. Elsewhere on the island, a young boy sits swinging beneath the treehouse, a cell phone gleaming in his hand. He presses a button. A blinding flash tears through the night. The next morning, breakfast begins in uneasy silence, until the father slams a pair of shoes onto the table. Someone wore them last night. Romy suggests Minu. Yumi piles on, calling her brother an idiot. The father turns on Minu with cold fury, demanding the truth. Unable to bear it, X blurts out a confession. It was him. He claims he only stepped out restlessly and thought they were just an old pair. The family stares, their shock pressing in like judgment. The father seizes on one word, bored, as he declares they'll make things more interesting. Moments later, the father drags X to the edge of a cliff. Without a word, he shoulders a shotgun, takes aim at the sky, and fires. A gull spirals down into the waves. Most scatter, he explains, but there's always one straggler, too clueless to escape. That's what happens to them. Then he presses the weapon to X. The lesson isn't over, it's only begun. X admits he's never fired a gun. The father steps closer, asking if he's afraid. He denies it, not afraid, only confused why anyone would kill for sport. The father's tone hardens. Didn't he say he was bored? A bird circles overhead. The father tells him to take the shot. Then, almost casually, he wonders if perhaps X is pointing the gun at him. X's voice cracks as he demands answers. The father closes the distance until the barrel is pressed between them. Calmly, he tells him the island has no name. The man he saw is not a slave, but their employee. They run a simple hotel, and X is their guest. A guest who hasn't paid a single yen, yet dares to point a gun at his host. With sudden force, he wrenches the weapon back and pulls the trigger. Nothing, just a hollow click. X collapses in terror as the father bursts out laughing. It's a two-shot gun, he says, already spent. And since his guest has no money, he can't afford to give him a full hunting lesson anyway. Shaking, X forces a weak chuckle, clinging to the mercy he's been offered. But the father's words linger. Who would dare something so reckless, unless they already knew the gun was empty? That evening, X sits alone on the beach, staring out at the horizon, frustration gnawing at him. His eyes drift to the red mailbox he planted on his first day. It topples suddenly, though the air is perfectly still. When he lifts it, his breath catches. The tip has been sharpened to a point. He remembers planting it blunt and dull. Was it always like this? Inside, he finds a strange, gridded card, marked with the number 5 on its back. Before he can study it further, Romy approaches. She looks almost ordinary now, dressed in a pink top and shorts. She smiles, asking how things went with her father. All X can manage is, he's interesting. Without missing a beat, she invites him for a walk along the beach. When X presses again about the island, Romy suddenly hugs him, pouting that he thinks of nothing else. When he points out she seems too young, she smirks, insisting she's an adult, and that's all that matters. Caressing his face, she pulls him along. The outing feels normal, almost like a date. They fish, they tease, they talk. But when X admits he's scared, stranded on an island with strangers, her smile falters. She knows her family might seem weird to others, but laughs it off as just part of their quirks. She asks about X's childhood instead, but he admits he can't remember. His amnesia fascinates her, even calls it cool, before awkwardly apologizing. For a brief moment, X wonders if maybe he misjudged her. Then the fishing line jerks. In the scramble, Romy slips, tumbling into him. What could pass for clumsy romance shifts when she freezes, eyes scanning the empty beach as if afraid of being watched. Then, with sudden urgency, she shoves him back against the ground. Her dark eyes lock on his. "Help me," she whispers. "I want to get out of here." A heartbeat later, she bolts, tears in her eyes, leaving X stunned in the sand. His gaze falls on the book she dropped. He picks it up and flips through it. A sweat beads when he realizes every page is blank. On his way back, X runs into Minu, who notices Romy's book in his hands. X offers a quiet greeting, but Minu walks past without a word. Outside the house, X pauses at the doorstep, unsure whether to go in. Suddenly, Minu reappears behind him, startling him. Minu's voice cuts through the air, cold and deliberate. "Did you kill Romy?" Before X can answer, Minu raises his sickle, eyes wild. X takes off immediately, bolting toward the house as panic rises, only to find the door locked. Cornered with nowhere to run, he screams that he didn't kill Romy. Just as the blade is about to fall, Yumi strolls in, casually announcing that Romy isn't dead. She pulls Minu away as if nothing had happened. X, understandably furious, tells the siblings to wait. He wants an apology, but Yumi only laughs, brushing it off as if him nearly being killed was some kind of prank. Her smirk only fuels his anger, and when she mocks him for overreacting, he snaps, grabbing her arm. She lets out a deafening shriek, collapsing into a wail as if he'd struck her. The mother appears instantly. Between sobs, Yumi spins lies, claiming X insulted Minu, called him names, even tried to hurt her. X stammers, denying every word, but Yumi piles on until her mother soothes her and silences him with a cold stare. She tells him they need to talk. Inside the house, the silence is suffocating. X pleads that it's a misunderstanding. He'd never hurt her children. The hostess only smiles, leaning close with a whisper. I searched your room and couldn't find it. Her voice turns cold. I know you took the kitchen knife. A short while later, X is banished to the treehouse. He'd denied taking the knife, but the hostess only told him, until she finds it, he can't be allowed to stay in the house. Alone in the cramped wooden room, he studies the blade in his hand, wondering how she was so sure. Still, the perch feels safer. The path is visible. The ladder is the only way up, easy to block, loud if anyone climbs. For the first time in days, he thinks he might sleep. A faint creak snaps him awake. Below, a small boy sits on the swing. A cell phone glints in his hand. Wait, X calls down. The boy rises and slips into the dark. X scrambles down the ladder and plunges after him. Branches rake his clothes as the forest thins into a meadow. The boy is gone. The grass begins to rustle around him. Closer, louder, then stops. From the stalks, a man in a black shirt and tie rises, with the head of a pig. More figures emerge, ringed around him, pig-headed and silent. One has long hair, a pink top, and shorts. Disturbingly familiar. X jolts awake, sunlight pouring across the floorboards. He's back in the treehouse, wrapped in his sleeping bag, the swing creaking faintly below. For a long moment, he can't tell if he's awake or still dreaming. Tay calls out to him. Together, they install a door for the treehouse in silence, almost mundane, until X finally asks if he's ever thought of leaving. Tay only stares. X presses, if this is a bed and breakfast, there should be phones, internet, even boats. Tay remains silent. Only when X suggests asking the next customers for help does he pause. He admits they had some customers not too long ago, but now he points to X's stomach. They're probably in there. X freezes. Anger floods through him as he grabs Tay's arm, then notices the needle marks running up his forearm. Tay jerks free. Then, his face twists. Did you see it? He snarls. I said, did you see it, you asshole? X snaps, shoving him by the collar. Later, they sit tense in the treehouse. Tay laughs it off, claims he was only joking about the shovel, about eating customers. Life here is boring, he says, teasing that X was just a way to pass the time. Then his tone shifts. You really don't recognize me? X blinks. With a bitter smile, Tay admits he used to be an idol, once splashed across headlines, then vanished in disgrace. The memory stirs faint recognition within X. For the first time, hope flickers. Maybe his memories aren't completely gone. Before he can process it, a walkie-talkie crackles in Ty's toolbox. A voice calls out, they've arrived. Down at the beach, the father and mother greet two unsuspecting customers. From the trees, X watches their footprints trail toward the house. His pulse quickens. If tourists are here, then there must be a boat. He follows the tracks, desperate. Halfway down the path, Romy blocks his way. She asks where he's going. X stammers about the boat. She looks at him earnestly. Please, she says. He asks about her blank book, certain she's trying to tell him something, certain they're abusing her. Her face is hidden, but her words drop like stones. Those people. They're not my family. They sprint along the shoreline together. When she falters, X pulls her hand, urging her forward. At the jetty, they freeze. In the distance, Minu waits in the motorboat, silent, watching. Behind the rocks, Romy whispers that she'll distract him. But first, she makes X promise. If anything goes wrong, he must come back for her. Steeling herself, she walks out, shouting she has something to show him. Minu approaches, and she pulls out lipstick, forcing a smirk as she applies it. That's when X charges from behind with a rock. But Minu spins instantly, seizing his wrist mid-swing, before choking him and hurling him to the ground. X shouts for Romy to run. Minu turns on Romy, but X grapples him from behind. Romy pauses for a moment, then promises she'll definitely come back. She bolts for the boat, and its engine roars to life. Minu shoves X aside and gives chase, but it's too late. Romy is gone. X drags himself to his feet, a triumphant grin spreading across his face. He tells Minu he doesn't know why they're keeping them trapped here, but now that Romy's escaped, Minu is screwed. Minu just stands there, staring at him in silence. The next chapter opens at the dining table. Tension hangs thick. When X demands to know what they did to Romy, the mother muses she doesn't know what she'll do if Romy never returns. Then suddenly, the whole family bursts into laughter. Even the father chuckles, as if Romy's disappearance were nothing more than a prank. X snaps, accusing them of abusing her, but the father only asks if he's lost his mind. Piece by piece, they rewrite reality and turn the blame on him. Romy always loved playing tricks, they say. X is the real problem. They remind him he appeared out of nowhere, claimed amnesia, stole the kitchen knife, wore the father's shoes, and that only after his arrival did Romy try to run. The father's hand lands heavy on his shoulder. You even tried to crush Minu's skull with a rock, he says. Yumi chimes in as well, saying X tried to hurt her too. Beads of sweat slide down X's face. But finally, he shoves the father's hand away. He says he's grateful for the stay. He even admits he's the problem, but begs that they let him go. He was in an accident. He needs a hospital. Just give him a phone or internet. The family replies in unison, they have no such thing. X protests, demanding how the tourists arrived if that's true. He is met only with blank stares. Desperate, he bolts upstairs, tearing open bedroom doors, one after another. The father shouts after him, asking what he's looking for. X seizes his collar in fury, demanding to know where his guest room B, the one he heard mentioned over the walkie-talkie. Yumi tilts her head, puzzled. We don't name our rooms, she says. Then Minu appears, calmly flipping through Romy's book. He reads aloud a passage of poetry, his voice steady, deliberate. He shoves the open pages at X, but X sees that they are blank, all of them. For a moment, X wonders if he's gone insane, but he quickly regains his composure, ripping the book from Minu's hands and thrusting it toward Yumi, demanding she read it too. She only smirks, refusing. To everyone else, he looks completely unhinged. Their cold stares close in as he shouts, demanding what's wrong with them, and what's the name of this island. The father's answer is flat. Do you think every uninhabited island in Korea has a name? Finally, the father sighs. His voice drops. X's condition is worse than they'd thought. From the hall, Tae steps forward with a shotgun. The father slips a folded note into his pocket and tells him to isolate their guest. Tae cocks the weapon and levels it at X, reminding him that he'd warned him before not to provoke the family. Shortly after, X is locked back inside the treehouse. The door is bolted from the outside. He replays the day's chaos over and over. He knows he saw the tourists. So where are they now? Digging through clutter, he finds a pipe he thinks he could use to break free. Then, he sees a dartboard. Flipping it over, he finds another gridded card, this one marked with the number 9. A floorboard creaks outside. Through the window, the boy sits again on the swing. X calls out, but the boy vanishes into the night. Desperate, X smashes the window with the pipe and jumps out, barely catching on to the swing's chain to break his fall. Gasping, he mutters that his phone is the only chance to remember who he is. And so, he races into the forest after the boy. The scene echoes his earlier dream. X tears through the forest until the trees break into a tall meadow. Ahead, the boy stands motionless in the grass. X approaches carefully, coaxing him. He only wants his phone back. The boy turns slightly. I can't give it back, because I never took it. Before X can react, a chorus of oinks erupts all around him. Massive pigs close in, their grunts deafening. One snout presses against his skin. He squeezes his eyes shut. Silence. When he opens them, the meadow is empty. His breath shudders. Am I losing my mind? Back at the treehouse, he unbolts the door and slips in. In the hollow pipe he'd used to smash the window, another card is hidden inside, this one marked with the number 3. He collapses, laughing bitterly, shouting into the empty air, who the hell is doing this to him? Then a memory snaps into place. The father slipping a folded paper into Tae's pocket. The needle marks up Tae's arm. Drugs? Had they been dosing him too? Slipping it into his food? Spreading the scraps across the floor, he stares at the sequence. 5, 9, 3. The numbers gnaw at him with no answer. Finally, he shakes it off. None of it matters. Only escape does. He grips the pipe, less lethal than the knife, safer to carry, and steps outside. Behind him, the treehouse door swings shut, leaving the knife behind on the floor. At the edge of the property, X hides, spying on the house through binoculars. The father calmly polishes his shotgun. In another window, Yumi plucks the head off a beetle. Suddenly, she turns, as if staring straight through him. Did she see him? For a moment, his blood runs cold, but after a long pause, she looks away. Then Minu steps outside, carrying a plastic bag of frozen food. X follows him through the night to a shed by the sea. When Minu finally leaves at daybreak, X slips inside. The shed is pitch black. Then, a sudden ring shatters the silence. On a table sits an old telephone. He answers. A woman sobs for help. It hurts. Please don't kill me. I don't want to die. X shouts back, demanding who she is and what happened to her boyfriend. But the line goes dead. Frantic, he dials the police. A voice answers, calm, asking his location. He pleads, he's trapped on an island with a family that isn't normal. Can they trace the call? The voice presses again for his location. His anger boils over. Then the voice hardens. Do you think every uninhabited island in Korea has a name? X freezes. Those were the father's exact words. He drops the receiver. As daylight filters in, the shed reveals itself as a run-down barbecue restaurant. In the corner, a black trash bag bulges. His hands tremble as he lifts it up. Underneath, the tourist's blood-soaked clothes. A Hawaiian shirt, a straw hat. He stumbles back, collapsing to the floor with a scream. He staggers outside as bile rises in his throat, and he vomits against a tree. Tae's words echo. The customers are probably in there. Beneath the despair, rage flickers. X wipes his mouth and grits his teeth. If he wants to survive, he thinks, he'll have to prove his worth. The next day, X approaches Tae, who greets him with thinly veiled hostility. Before Tae leaves, he asks to borrow a toolbox. He says he'll prove himself. Soon he's mending fences, bowing politely to the father, and even apologizing for the night before. But the father only narrows his eyes. It isn't enough. X confesses he took the missing knife, and he promises to return it. Then he asks for the father's prayer, and offers his help for anything. At last the man nods, satisfied, for now. He continues working, lost in thoughts of Romy, when she suddenly appears. Dressed in designer clothes and arms full of shopping bags, she looks like a different person. The father scolds her for going to nightclubs again, warning she'll get her sermon tonight. Romy shrinks away. But as she passes X, she winks and whispers, "Thanks for the help. I needed a little fun." She waves goodbye and walks on, leaving him stunned. X's jaw tightens. The memory of the family's laughter at dinner last night crashes into place. Now he knows why they laughed. Gritting his teeth, he shouts after her, "Wait, was this her plan all along, Sid? To use him to sneak off to clubs?" His spit lands on her sunglasses, and though her eyes are hidden, her irritation is clear. Romy stops, then says flatly, "I went shopping too." She pulls a small package from her bag, holding it out like a gift. Then she turns away. She takes a few steps and pauses. Without looking back, she says, "Don't ever yell at me again, or you'll regret it." The image of the tourist's bloodied clothes flashes in X's mind. He swallows hard. Back at the treehouse, he finds Yumi's note, stuck to the wall. "Refurnish my room, loser." He slams the toolbox down, rips the paper, heart burning with a promise. When he gets off this island, he'll make them pay. Thoughts of Romy turn shame into anger. He rips open the small gift she left to find, a bottle of herbicide. He laughs once, half hysteria, half grief, then hurls it across the floor. He pounds the boards with his fists, the noise hollow in the cramped room. For a beat, his thoughts go to dark places, visions of the family collapsing, one by one, face first into their meal. He pictures each death in ugly detail until Romy's voice, imagined or remembered, whispers, "Good job." He makes a decision. A giant pig stares back at him, silent, unblinking. He digs through boxes until his hands close around what he was searching for, a plant dripper. X knocks on the house door. The hostess answers. He hands her the missing knife, bowing deep in apology. She turns to leave, but he stops her, and with a polite smile, asks if he can help her with dinner. In the kitchen, she slices fish, while X fusses with garnish behind her. complimenting her for working so hard every day. When she looks away, his hand slips into his pocket. The plant dripper comes out. A wild look flickers across his face. A drop trembles at the tip, herbicide, poised to fall. In his mind, once again the family slumps into their plates. He squeezes his eyes shut, teeth grinding. He can't do it. The hostess turns, knife still in hand, smiling faintly as she invites him to dinner. X freezes, dripper clenched in his palm. Her gaze lingers, too long, too knowing. Actually, I'll skip tonight, he mutters. X staggers out of the house, breath ragged. He can't believe it. A moment ago he was ready to murder them. The thought churns in his gut. This island, it's driving him insane. On the swing, he empties the dripper, poison soaking useless into the dirt. No matter how twisted they are, murder isn't the answer. There has to be another way. Then it hits him. Dinner. They always eat together. As the sun sinks, he raises the binoculars to the house. The rooms are empty. They're all gathered at the table. X bolts. He sprints across the yard, clambers through the father's window, and lands in the brightly lit room. A cross hangs on the wall. Beside it, a shotgun. His eyes sweep the room, hunting for a phone. Nothing. But then he spots a laptop. He powers it on. Relief floods him. No password. His fingers tremble over the keyboard, desperate to connect. The doorknob rattles. A creak. The father steps inside. X dives under the bed, heart hammering. Through the crack he watches as the man stares down at the closed laptop. The silence stretches. Finally, the father turns. His voice cuts the room in two. Why is the window open? He walks to the window, staring at the night air. He mutters, wondering if he left it open, then quickly decides he must have done it for fresh air. He settles into his armchair and drifts off. X creeps out. The laptop glows beside the sleeping man. He opens the browser, but there's no internet, not even an address bar. In the favorites folder, a single link waits. Home sweet home. The father stirs. His eyes open and he lets out a yawn. X darts behind the armchair. The man stretches, pulls his belt taut with a slow snap, and mutters that Romy's sermon tonight will be unforgettable. Then he leaves. Darkness returns. X hurries back to the screen and clicks the link. A childish crayon drawing fills the page. The family lined up in front of their house. Something about it unsettles him. In the corner, a boy's face has been savagely scribbled out in black. X freezes. It's the boy from the swing. Cast out, erased. He moves the cursor over the blotch. A hidden link flickers beneath the scribbles. He clicks. The laptop goes black. Red words burn onto the screen. 6 little pigs. Bullet points begin to describe each one. Then the screen flickers again. A countdown timer appears. 60 seconds. The numbers tick down. X scrambles for paper, convinced the text means something. He grabs the Bible on the armchair. The pages are blank. Panic rising, he yanks open a drawer, finds a marker, and scrawls the words across an empty page. The countdown bleeds toward 0. He scratches faster, ink blotting, until the screen dies black. Silence. But the notes are there. He'd got them down. He shakes the laptop, desperate for it to revive. Instead, a gridded card flutters loose from the bottom. This one marked with the number 2. Back in the treehouse, X studies the notes he scrawled in panic. The words feel like riddles, clues left by someone watching him. He whispers them under his breath, piecing them together. The first is smart, needs only fingers to kill a person. His mind flicks to the laptop. The second makes a bouquet. The darts, clustered on the board. The third restrains, or becomes protective clothing. A chain. The fourth, long and dark like a tunnel. The pipe. The fifth, foolish, waiting forever. The red mailbox. The sixth, does not exist. He makes his way down the treehouse. As he turns toward the swing, his breath catches. A card is wedged into the chain, this one marked with the number 6. Congratulations, X spins. The small boy stands there, watching him with a knowing look. He tells X he's ready now. Check your left pocket, the boy says. X reaches into his shorts. His fingers brush something cold. A cell phone. His cell phone. The boy's expression hardens. It was there this whole time. You just pretended not to notice. X stares at the phone in his hand. The lock screen demands 6 digits. His pulse quickens. The riddles weren't nonsense. They were the order of the code. Laptop, 2. Dartboard, 9. Chain, 6. Pipe, 3. Mailbox, 5. Sixth does not exist. 0. His fingers tremble as he enters the passcode. The screen blinks. With a click, the phone comes alive. X stares in disbelief. The phone is unlocked. No signal, of course. He flips to the photo album. Selfies. Food pics. Everything looks normal, but one photo catches his eye. An army uniform with a name tag. Jin. "That's my name," he shouts to the boy. He scrolls deeper. Swipe. Smiling with a girl. Traveling together. Happy. Swipe. The girl running. Turning an alley. Cornered. Tears streaming. Swipe. A hand around her throat. A tourist resting at the edge of a cliff. Sun behind him. Swipe. Body tumbling off. Arms flailing. An old taxi driver at the wheel. Calm. Ordinary. Swipe. A hammer rising in the back seat. Swipe. The driver's head cracked open. A man tied to a chair. Eyes closed. Swipe. Awake now, panicked. Chair tipping. Swipe. X in the frame. A finger to his lips. Shh. His own face. Stares back at him. X drops the phone. His knees buckle. Seizing the boy by the shirt, he demands to know what kind of sick joke this is. Then, his voice cracks. Maybe he's still drugged. Maybe none of this is real. The boy's tone hardens. Get a grip. How long are you going to let them toy with you? A short silence. Then the boy's lips curl into a crooked smile. Show those amateurs what you're really capable of. X's face twists. For the first time, it's not fear. It's something darker. A grin spreads across his expression. The boy vanishes. We cut to a flashback. The same cafe from X's first dream. A man looms behind him. It's you, isn't it? Pasted on the wall behind. A wanted poster. X's face. Wanted for murder. The man squints, asking if he's a friend's son. X shakes his head, saying he's mistaken. And as the man studies him, X quietly flicks open a penknife. The man apologizes, admitting he must have got the wrong person. X leaves, and as the door closes behind him, the man's eyes snap to the poster on the glass. His hand trembles as he dials the police. The bell above the door jingles as X steps back inside, shutting the door behind him. The man stammers, offering excuses, asking if X wants his change. X grins. No thanks, he says. When X reappears outside, he is covered in blood. He peels off his bloodied shirt and drops it in the trash, before strolling to the jetty. Sitting by the sea, he admires the sunset. Just in time for my boat, he hums. X crouches in the cramped hold of a boat, pressed in with other stowaways. The stench makes him sneer. Then the vessel lurches violently. A shadow rises over it, a towering wave, and the boat splinters apart. The author's voice cuts in. Countless uninhabited islands dot the Korean peninsula. On one forgotten shore, a strange family lives unseen by the world. And now fate has delivered them a visitor, a serial killer. Jin stands on a rocky outcrop, sunlight warming his face, sea wind filling his lungs. No one knows I'm here, he thinks. Laughter bursts out of him, wild and uncontrollable, muffled behind his hand. All that remains is to erase the family. A shadow falls across him. The father steps up behind, shotgun cradled in his arms, observing that Jin seems to be in good spirits. Jin's eyes drop to the weapon. He jokes about hunting so early, the words hanging in the air unanswered. The father doesn't so much as twitch. A shot cracks, and a gull drops into the sea. Jin tilts his head, muttering how he enjoys the sound never reaching the mainland. The remark catches the father off guard. Jin reminds him of his own words, that there are too many nameless islands for anyone to care, and he likes that. The father hesitates, then reloads, admitting that everyone wants to hide from the world sometimes. He offers the gun. Jin takes it, momentarily stunned. The father warns him not to fool around like last time. Jin checks the barrel, noting both, shells loaded. As the father explains the twin triggers. One pull, one shot. Both pulled, both shells, but with heavy recoil. Jin lifts the barrel, fires, and misses. The father consoles him, reminding him there's one shell left. A grin spreads across Jin's face. He asks if the father prayed for him. The man nods, saying he prayed for his memory to return. Jin laughs softly and whispers that the prayer worked. He remembered his name, Jin. But then he adds, almost casually, that he doubts the father prayed at all, since he was too busy beating Romy the night before. The father's eyes widen. The shotgun kicks. The blast rips through him, launching his body backward over the cliff. He vanishes into the waves below. Jin leans over the edge, watching the red spread across the surf. His grin fades. That was no fun. He empties the barrel and curses under his breath. No shells left. He should have taken the father's spare before killing him. With a shrug, he tosses the shotgun into the surf beside the body, brushes sand from his hands, and mutters that guns aren't much fun anyway. At the water's edge, Jin sketches faces in the sand. The family lineup. Yumi, Minu, Romi, the hostess. His mind runs through them one by one. Yumi, annoying, tempting to savor. Minu, dangerous, tread carefully. Romi, completely vile. Vile, vile, vile. He rakes his stick through her face until the sand scatters. Breath heaving. For a moment he nearly loses control. He steadies himself. Next he sketches Tae, remembering the rifle. That one should be first. His stomach growls, pulling him back. At the house he knocks. The hostess answers, smiling the same practiced smile. Jin asks to join them for breakfast, and she agrees. They walk together, making small talk. Casually, Jin asks if the father had eaten with them last night, recalling the man asleep in the armchair. Of course, she replies. Jin's lips curl. Liar. The urge to end her flares hot and sudden, but he forces patience. Not yet. The hunt has only just begun. At the dining table he pours drinks, eyes catching on Romi. Bruises blotch her arms and face. He leans in, asking what happened. She insists she fell down the stairs. Jin objects. Bruises like that don't come from falling, but she waves it off, saying she's fine. He tips a glass over with his tray, sending juice spilling across her plate. Jin gasps, apologizes profusely, and pushes his own plate toward her, insisting he'll eat hers instead. Later, he watches intently as she eats, chewing, swallowing, no sign of drugs. Strange. The meal turns tense. Yumi slams her fork into the table, demanding to know where their father is. Silence follows. Jin chews calmly, bacon between his teeth. Romi mutters he's probably still hunting, but Yumi snaps back. The gunshots had stopped long ago. The air stiffens. Only Jin eats unbothered. Yumi's gaze shifts. What if he's dead? She asks. Jin flinches just for a moment. Romi scolds her, cutting the thought short. The mother sends Minu to fetch him. Minu rises, towering, his stare drilling into Jin before he leaves. Jin mutters, "What?" under his breath, but there's no answer. After breakfast, Jin leaves the house, but Minu's stare gnaws at him. Why'd he glare at him like that? Yumi calls to him from across the yard, mocking, asking where her display case is. Jin tells her it's finished at the treehouse. She can come fetch it. She shakes her head. She's about to slaughter a pig. Then, with a smirk, asks if he wants to watch, telling him it's gruesome. They head to the barn. At the door, she tells him to grab the cattle gun, explaining how it works. Release the valve, aim between the eyes, and it knocks them out before the slaughter. Jin slings it across his back, muttering he's seen it in movies used by a serial killer. Yumi smiles. Interesting, she says. As the barn doors creak open, Jin peers inside. His face drains. He staggers back, screaming, and bolts. We don't see what he sees, but whatever's inside, it shakes him to his core. Yumi's voice trails after him. What's wrong? They're just pigs. He bursts into the treehouse, crashing to the floor, cattle gun raised at the entrance, as if something followed him. His chest heaves. What the hell did he just see? From the shadows, Minu emerges. His stare fixes on Jin as he announces, the father is gone, nowhere to be found. He steps closer, sickle glinting in his grip, nostrils flaring, and mutters that he smells gunpowder on him. The words hang heavy. Jin steadies the cattle gun, demanding if this is an accusation. Minu nods. Jin raises the noose of the cattle gun, but Minu points out the flaw. The valve is still shut. In that instant, he lunges, sickle flashing. Metal scrapes against the gas tank as Jin twists the valve open and shoves him back. The hiss of air fills the silence. Their clash turns verbal as much as physical. Minu insists Jin killed their father, but Jin's tone shifts into something cool, almost persuasive. He reminds him of the beatings, of Romi's bruises, arguing that if there's powder on him, it's because he ran into the father while hunting, not because he pulled the trigger. Minu calls him a liar. Jin fires back, snarling about the tourist's bloodied clothes, about the shed. He calls them what they are, a family of killers who eats their victims. Then his voice softens. He claims he's not like them, that he just wants to survive, to be useful. Minu's jaw tightens. He insists they don't eat people, but doesn't deny the rest. The sickle lowers. Jin seizes the opening, offering to help search for the father. Minu hesitates, then agrees. As they step outside, Jin prods lightly about how the family chooses their victims. Why spare him? Minu admits he never chose. He only delivered the food to the shed, never knowing who would die. But he warns, if Jin tries anything, he'll kill him himself. Then Minu pauses, eyes narrowing. He asks why, if Jin believed they ate their victims. He ate so heartily at breakfast. For the first time, Jin grins, face twisting. Minu wasn't as dim-witted as he thought. The cattle gun hisses as Jin lunges, pressing the noose into his gut. Minu crashes down the stairs, blood pooling beneath him. From the landing, Jin watches, chest heaving, savoring the rush. The one he feared most lies broken at his feet, gone with almost no effort. Later, we see ropes cinch around Minu's legs as his body sinks beneath the waves. Stone, dragging him down to rest beside the father. On the rocks above, Jin wipes the sweat from his brow and tosses the sickle into the sea. His thoughts grow cold. Only Tai remains a threat. After that, just helpless women. A tremor builds in his chest, laughter spilling out. But then the memory claws back. The barn, Yumi opening the doors, the pigs staring. Only they weren't pigs. They had faces. Human faces, the same ones he'd seen in his phone. Their grunts echo in his head. Jin falters, his laughter cracking. Was that guilt? Was he even capable of it? He wondered. Elsewhere, Yumi runs laughing through a sunlit field, carefree, until a wasp buzzes close and her joy turns to fascination. Jin steps out of the grass and her rant begins. Because of him, she complains, she couldn't slaughter pigs today. And worse, he scared off a species of wasp she's never seen before. Her voice grates on Jin, but he swallows his irritation, cutting in to ask where Tae lives. She shrugs. No one really knows. One day he just showed up. Jin presses for when. She drags it out, feigning thought, before smirking and saying she wonders that too. The hiss of a valve breaks the air as Jin steps forward with the cattle gun. Yumi's smile hardens. She throws the epiphany first. He had killed their father. Jin is already lunging, but she's quicker. A bag of honey smashes against him, followed by a container bursting at his feet. Bees erupt in a furious swarm, stingers lancing into his skin. Yumi bolts, screaming for her family. Jin staggers, blinded by welts, until he halts at the sight of Tae watching him from the path. For a breath, their eyes lock. Then Tae screams too, and runs. Jin steadies himself, forcing down the pain. He wants to go after Yumi, but the plan is still the plan. He gives chase to Tae, through fields, up a rocky incline, until he hauls himself over the ledge. Only a shack greets him, small, wooden, with tools and gloves scattered about inside. But the rifle that should hang on the wall is gone. He takes cover under a workstation immediately. A floorboard creaks open, and Tae crawls out behind him. Then, without warning, the rifle's butt smashes into his skull. Blood spatters across the planks as the world lurches dark. Jin awakes to the rattling of a washing machine. He finds himself in a basement, his arms chained overhead. Yumi steps into view, and his fury explodes. But before he can finish, she jams a funnel into his mouth. Bitter liquid floods his throat, burning. Night falls, and the mother arrives. Jin spits venom at her, calling them killers, the same breed as himself. She only smiles, amused that his memory has returned. When she asks what he recalls, he growls back, fleeing the country, the boat, the wreck. Then he taunts her. He killed her husband and son, so she should make it quick for him. She silently turns to leave, but he shouts after her, promising he'll kill them all. Her smile twists as she declares, "You've been free from the beginning, and still, you failed miserably." The camera pulls back, wires snake across the floor, screens flicker. In a hidden room, Tae watches everything on monitors. He lifts a mic, voice cold and playful. "Place your bets. Will Jin be able to escape?" Laughter and voices crackle back in chorus, some betting yes, some no. Romi's voice cuts through. "Wake up." Jin's eyes flutter open. He mutters about the time, then rants about the washing machine, the endless noise drilling into his skull. Romi switches it off. He apologizes, almost laughing, for not using the weed killer, but he grins proudly that he still managed to kill two. Romi only stares, unmoved, until she finally says the words flatly, The weed killer wasn't meant for her family. Hasn't he figured that out by now? Jin bursts into laughter, spittle flying. He swears he'll save her for last. She wipes her cheek, reminding him she already warned him. The switch flips, the washing machine roars back on, and the light snaps out before she leaves. Darkness closes in. Jin's thoughts spiral. Why didn't they react when he confessed to killing 2 of them? Why didn't they? He opens his eyes. Dozens of pigs crowd the room, but not just pigs. Massive, grotesque things. Their grunts echoing, pressing in closer. Panic tears from his throat as he yanks the chains, muscles straining until the ceiling beam cracks. The structure splinters, collapsing. Wood crashes down, pinning him beneath the wreck. He claws himself free, broken, staggering, but alive. The scene cuts back to the hidden control room. Voices on the speakers cry foul. The game must be rigged. How could the planks holding Jin break so easily? Tae sits silently, but his thoughts betray him. This isn't the first time. This has happened before. Back in the basement, Jin drags the heavy plank still chained to his wrists, scraping it across the floor until he stumbles on a saw. Metal grinds against metal as he frees himself. Flicking on the light, he sees it isn't a dungeon at all, but a storage room. Shelves lined with tools, rows of canned food. He looks up. Canned peaches, neat on the top shelf. And inside one of them, a hidden camera. Jin's eyes linger on it for far too long, and in the control room, Tae leans forward, tense. He raises his mic, smiling as he asks the others to place their bets. Will Jin notice them? At last, Jin reaches up. He grabs a can, peels it open, and slurps down the syrup, oblivious. The room exhales. Apparently, he didn't notice a thing. Before long, Jin is rummaging through boxes until his hands close on a hammer. He hefts it, testing the grip, feeling the weight. A weapon at last. Then the air stirs. The washing machine rattles back to life, whirring in the silence. Jin freezes, teeth clenched. He knows he turned it off. He lifts the washing machine lid. Nestled in the drum is something small and ridiculous. A pig plush, damp and grimy. Stitched on its back is a name, Jinu. For a beat, Jin just stares. Then a pig image flashes through his head, and he drops the toy, chest constricting. He stomps it with a hiss of anger, trying to shake the moment free. When he calms, he scoops the plush up again, decides it's another one of their tricks, and tosses it back into the washer. If he kills them, he tells himself, they'll never drug him again. Tae watches the cameras and smirks. He finds it amusing that Jin still blames drugs. Jin climbs a crooked stair and pushes through a door into another room. On a battered table, he finds a cell phone and his scraps of paper, the numbered clues he's been collecting. He pockets them. A clock says it's almost 7, dinner time. He spies a ladder leading up. When he heaves the hatch open, he expects the yard, the house, anything domestic. Instead, sunlight floods a wide, open field. He's standing above what looks like a secret bunker. Seems this island runs deeper than we can imagine. He looks toward the house and calls out for them to enjoy their meal, because this will be their last one. Back in the treehouse, Jin prepares for the hunt. He packs his supplies, binoculars, the pipe, a bottle of herbicide. When he's ready, he slips through the trees toward the house. From behind a trunk, he spies through the lenses. The windows are dark, the perfect moment to strike. Then his breath catches. One room glows with lamplight, and in it sits the father, reading in his armchair. Sweat beads at Jin's temples. He was certain he'd killed him. Jin recalls raising the shotgun, pulling the trigger, the father's chest tearing open as the blast hurled him back. And yet, here the man is, alive. A shadow moves. Minu steps up from behind. His sickle flashes down, but Jin twists aside just in time. He swings his hammer in retaliation, the blow meeting steel as Minu blocks, both of them stumbling back. Jin grits his teeth. He knows he killed this one too. Another memory ignites, the cattle gun pressed to Minu's chest, the recoil blasting him down the stairs, blood spraying, flesh splitting. He remembers it too clearly, but Minu still stands before him, breathing, fighting. Jin falters. Is he a ghost or a zombie? Or was everything just a hallucination, another trick of the drug still coursing through him? Minu swings again. This time the sickle scraps Jin's shoulder, a hot line of blood opening where metal kissed skin. Jin presses a hand to the wound, feeling the sticky, red fluid on his palm, and something inside him snaps into place. The pain is sharp and real, not a trick, not a drug haze. A laugh bubbles up from within him, puzzling Minu for a beat. If this bleeding is real, then Minu is real. If Minu is real, then killing him now will be killing him for sure. Minu lunges again and Jin squares himself, taking the blow again on his wounded shoulder. But he's already watched the way Minu always brings the sickle down, seen the rhythm in the attack. Then, quick and brutal, he drives the hammer into Minu's head. Minu collapses. Jin stands over him, shoulder burning. And for a moment, the victory feels absolute. He walks away, then pauses, circles back, and hammers over and over again. He needs to be certain. He crouches over the broken body and taunts him to rise. The silence is thick and final, until a gunshot rips through the air, and the rock behind Jin explodes into a spray of stone. From the house window, the father lowers his shotgun, reloads with an easy motion, then steps over the sill and drops to the ground. He walks straight toward the fallen Minu, pausing only long enough to glance at the body, then notices a trail of blood and follows it away into the trees. Jin watches, frozen behind a trunk, stunned that the father can walk away from his son's corpse as if it were nothing. For a moment, he even wonders if they are really related. He shrugs the thought off and moves. He doesn't care. Standing at the edge of the yard, he tells himself this is the perfect opportunity. Tonight, he will work his magic. The women in the house will be his target. Jin slips into the house under cover of darkness, every step measured. Upstairs, Yumi hums to herself, lost in daydreams of how she'll torment him tomorrow, while below he moves through the hall. A faint glow catches his eye, the cold glimmer from a mounted stag's glassy eye. A hidden camera. He ignores it and heads to the kitchen. There, he uncaps the bottle and lets herbicide pool across the shelves of food, slow and deliberate, until footsteps creak from above. The door opens. The hostess steps in. As she nears the fridge, he reacts instantly, hammer raised, but she sprays something in his face. The liquid burns, colors smear, and the walls ripple as if reality itself is warping. He staggers, forcing his eyes to lock on her shape, or what he thinks is her shape. With a guttural roar, he swings. The strike never lands. His hammer is caught mid-air. Out of the blur, Minu appears. They clash hard. Jin smashes his head forward into Minu, but the larger man grips him by the head and hurls him down to the floor. And then, the father steps in, shotgun leveled at Jin's head. Pinned and disoriented, Jin refuses to yield. He pulls the pipe from behind his back, holding it out like a challenge. If they keep getting up, he'll just keep killing them, again and again. Then something shifts. The father's stance falters, a shuffle of his feet, a tremor in his shoulders. The narrator's voice cuts in. Jin is no stranger to death, a seasoned killer, instincts honed by countless murders. And right now, those instincts say the father is afraid. A grin curls across Jin's face. Could it be that the one holding the gun is the one who feels fear? The mother's voice slices through the standoff, telling the father to stay back and let them handle it. He hesitates, and in that hesitation, Jin sees his chance. Without warning, he bolts toward the father, and in the same motion, the pipe swings wide, cracking against the father's skull. He grabs the shotgun and points it at the mother. A blast thunders through the kitchen, smoke curling as the mother's body jerks and collapses. Jin doesn't look twice. He crashes through the door, leaving Minu behind, the storm outside swallowing him whole. Rain lashes against his face as he stumbles beneath a rocky ledge. Before long, he collapses from the blood loss. Flashlights sweep through the night, the family searching. He lies flat on the rocky ground, eyes dwindling. Just then the boy appears, standing just beyond the curtain of rain, yet not a drop clinging to him. Jin stares, baffled. His voice cracks as he asks if the boy is a ghost. The boy only watches in silence. Jin's frustration boils over. He demands answers. Was the boy part of their family? Did he plant the clues? More importantly, why can't they die? None of these make sense. His answer is silence until he screams at the boy, forcing words out of him. Finally, the boy says Jin already knows, that he almost did it. He almost killed the father? Jin's mind reels. Almost killed him? What does that mean? Before he can press further, another figure emerges from the rain, Tate or rifle in hand. For the first time, the boy's name is spoken aloud. Jinu. Tae's eyes lock onto him, voice low and certain. He's been looking for this boy for a long time. The trigger pulls, and the boy drops. The rifle's crack fades, but the name lingers. Jinu. A memory unfolds. A car rattling down a country road. a woman, and a young boy inside, leaving the city to look for a pig farm. The woman calls him by name, Jin. They pull into a farmyard where a family of 5 waits. The boy greets them with practiced manners. The mother calls for someone, and from behind the shed, another child appears, a 6th family member. He runs forward wearing a pig mask and clutching a small plush pig. He extends his hand, voice muffled beneath the mask. His name is Jinu. The memory snaps. Jin's eyes slam open to the present, the boy's body collapsing in the mud. None of it makes sense. What the hell was that? Tae moves in to finish the job, rifle raised over the child. He squeezes the trigger, but Jin knocks the barrel aside, and the shot goes high. They grapple in the mud. Tae snarls for him to stop. Jin doesn't. He drives the pipe into Tae's gut. As Tae stumbles backward, he lunges and smashes the pipe across Tae's head, sending him crashing to the ground. Then, standing over Tae, Jin raises the pipe and hammers down, over and over, until the man lies still. Gasping, he staggers back to the boy, bewildered that bullets could wound a ghost. He demands why the boy was called Jin in his memory. None of these lines up. The boy's eyes open, his voice quiet and certain. The only way off the island is to kill the family. All of them. He doesn't know how, only that the answer lives inside Jin. He tells him to search Tae's cabin for first aid, and warns him, don't enter the basement. The boy leaves him one last command, one last reminder. That guilt is a poison, and to stay as the monster he already is. Then, the boy vanishes like a mist. In Tae's cabin, Jin tends to his wounds, wrapping them tight with trembling hands. The boy's warning echoes in his head, don't enter the basement, and yet, the pull is irresistible. Beneath the floorboards, he pries open a hatch and descends into the dark. When he flicks a switch, a bank of monitors flickers to life, each screen showing a different corner of the island. The treehouse, the beach, the kitchen. Tae has been watching him this whole time. Beside the monitor sits a bin filled with folded slips of paper, identical to the one he saw the father slip into Tae's pocket. Jin unfolds one. Nothing, no drugs. He thinks back to Tae's arm, at the memory of needle marks, and realizes they're gone. The thought chills him. Then, the speakers crackle and a voice cuts in, announcing to unseen watchers that Jin has arrived. Other voices follow, layered, laughing, mocking. They've been watching all along, they say. He's kept them entertained for longer than they could have hoped. Jin snarls back, demanding answers, demanding help. The laughter only rises louder, building until it envelops him, until he covers his ears and sinks to his knees. Then the screens begin to shift. Pig heads, dozens of them, one by one filling the wall of monitors. A chorus begins, low and rhythmic, chanting that Jin is worse than swine. Their distorted grunts drill into him. Suddenly they stop, and a familiar face flickers onto the screen. His girlfriend from the photo album smiling at first, until her face twists, grotesque, accusing. Do you remember killing me? The monitors snap to black. Darkness swallows the room. A heartbeat later, red emergency lights flare, and Jin is no longer alone. Around him, figures stand in silence, everyone masked with a pig's head. They close in. His vision tunnels. Consciousness fades. The last thing he sees is their circle tightening, all of them looming above him. Another memory unfolds. The farm again. Jinu extending his hand, and as they shake, all Jin can think about is the plush toy by his side. He wants it. At the table, Jin sits beside Jinu as everyone bows in prayer. But the scene fractures, bleeding into another memory, his body trembling as a voice tells him he's a burden, a belt snapping down against his skin, the sting of punishment. He watches the happy family eat together, the warmth at their table unbearable, and again the thought surfaces. He wants it. He wants it all. Jin jolts awake. The monitors are dark behind him. Fury roars through him. He flings a chair at a wall speaker, then hurls another to the floor. He wonders if this is hell, if he's here to atone for his sins. But the boy's last words harden him. He pushes away any remnants of guilt, and declares he killed them because they deserved it. He yells at the empty room, daring the unseen watchers to show themselves. He'll kill them too. Then he tears the place apart, until every speaker is smashed. Grateful for a moment of silence, he slumps into a chair and spots a newspaper. The text proof that Romi's book and the father's Bible were indeed blank. He spots 2 figures through the camera feeds. The mother and father at the treehouse, alive. His gaze lands on the father's head, the wound yet to heal. Memories snap into place. The boys whisper that Jin had nearly done it, and the father's sudden fear. He replays the moments in his mind, hunting for the single difference that made the man falter. Piece by piece, the pattern clicks into place, and a slow, cold grin spreads across his face. He pushes open the bunker's hatch and picks up the pipe. He now knows why the father flinched. This time, he tells himself, he will finish it. He will kill the father for good. Jin strips the rifle from Tae's fallen body and emerges from the tree line, pipe clutched in his other hand. At the treehouse, the mother freezes, but before she can retreat, Jin fires. The shot lifts her off her feet, body crumpling to the ground. Only the father remains, rigid in place. Jin demands answers, circling him with pipe and rifle like twin accusations. Did he not shoot him near the shore with a shotgun? The father shakes his head, insisting nothing like that ever happened. No one could survive a point-blank blast. When Jin presses about the shot from the window, the man claims he thought it was a wild animal. Even Minu's presence that night, the father denies flatly, insisting his son never left the house. The more Jin pushes, the more the ground between them fractures. The father tells him he's hallucinating, that his wife left the island hours ago, that Jin's injury must have damaged his head. What Jin thought were drugs slipped into his food. The father calls painkillers. What he thought was Tae's surveillance bunker, the father calls an attic. His calm words twist everything Jin remembers into fabrications. Finally, Jin asks the question burning in his gut. Why won't they let him leave? The father's mask slips. He admits what Jin already suspected. They are killers just like him. Romy had seen his wanted poster. They know what he is. The man even extends a hand, offering a place among them, promising that when new guests arrive, they could be shared. Jin answers with a swing. The pipe cracks across his skull, dropping the father to the dirt. Crawling up against a tree, the old man tries to steady himself, but Jin leans close, whispering the one thing that unravels him completely. He never said how the shotgun was fired. Only Jin knew it was point blank. The father's face twists in terror. Jin grins wide, savoring the fear he's chased all this time. Then the clang of metal cuts the night. The father's body slumps against the tree, blood soaking into soil beneath him. Jin stares at the pipe in his hand. Somehow, unlike every other attempt, the pipe worked. It killed him for good. The thought is almost intoxicating. But then pain lances through his skull, sharp as lightning. He clutches his head, memories forcing their way in. A man's face, warm, smiling, welcoming him at the farmyard long ago, telling him he had nothing to fear, that he could stay as long as he liked. And as the vision deepens, the features begin to blur, until the father's face overlays the stranger's. Jin sinks to his knees, tears spilling down his cheeks. He doesn't understand why he's crying, only that grief claws at his chest. Another memory rises, the man's gentle voice telling him to place a hand over his heart, to breathe slowly whenever fear struck. Jin gasps for air, torn between who he thinks he is and who he might have been. More fragments splinter through. Two boys at play, card games scattered between them. Someone calls for Jinu, and both of them answer at once. The vision shatters. Back in Tai's cabin, Jin fumbles for the rifle, only to find it empty. A hollow ache runs through him as he realizes he remembers nothing of his own childhood, but only for a moment. He pushes the thought aside and pries open the secret hatch once more. Down in the bunker, the mother sits restrained. He slaps her across the face, waving the pipe before her eyes, taunting that he has already smashed the father's head in. She insists he's insane, but he only grins, spinning her chair toward the monitor wall. He promises to kill one of her precious children next. On the screens, Minu appears, walking toward the treehouse. Jin feigns concern, murmuring that Minu's about to see it. Then he shouts with mock surprise as the boy rounds the corner. From the swing dangles the father's corpse, chained and swaying gently in the night air. Minu freezes, his face darkening, fury burning in his eyes. Minu lowers his father's body gently to the ground, grief etched across his face. The moment hangs heavy, until the rustle of footsteps cuts through the dark. He lifts his eyes. Too late. Jin barrels forward and smashes the pipe across Minu's skull. The impact sends him crashing down, and Jin doesn't stop. He hammers blow after blow, the pipe rising and falling until his own breath burns and his arms quiver. At last he staggers upright, chest heaving, shouting into the night that he's done it, He's killed the strongest of them, but the victory dies in his throat. Minu stirs. Then he's on his feet, and in the next instant, Jin is choking under his grip, driven into the dirt. Jin claws for air, flings a handful of soil into Minu's face, and scrambles free. When he whirls around, Minu is gone. A blur snaps into being behind him, a fist slamming into his ribs and lifting him off his feet. Pain shatters through his chest as Minu seizes his face midair, hurls him across the clearing, and sends him crashing headfirst into the ground. Pain floods his body, but he forces himself up. He won't die here. Not like this. As Minu swings a boot toward his face, Jin braces, taking it across his brow, then lunges low for a desperate takedown. Both men tumble across the dirt, Jin's scraps scattering like confetti into the grass. Pinned beneath Minu's weight, his throat caught in a vice, Jin's hands flail until they close around something cold, the chain from the swing. With a roar, he loops it around Minu's neck and pulls with everything he has, teeth bared, blood streaking his face. The struggle thrashes the earth beneath him until finally Minu slackens. His body collapses beside Jin, the chain still wrapped tight. Suddenly, pain rips through Jin's skull as another memory forces its way in. The young man from the pig farm sits with him, teaching him a card game, the same symbols as the scraps he's been collecting. Jin wants to play it with Jinu, and the man smiles warmly, agreeing. But as the smile lingers, the face begins to blur. Minu's features bleed into the stranger's, until Jin sees him standing outside the house, offering to let him help with the work. The vision dissolves. Jin snaps upright, gasping. The two bodies sprawled in the dirt beside him, scraps of clues scattered at his feet. His pulse pounds as he realizes it. The headaches, the flood of memory, they're the same as when the father fell, which means Minu is truly dead this time. His eyes fall to the pipe, then to the chain. He gathers the scraps marked 3 and 6. When he flips them over, the truth glares back at him. One shows the father bleeding out, the pipe at his feet. The other, Minu with a chain cinched around his neck. Tears blur the photos in his hands. He doesn't know if this is a nightmare or a memory, only that the grief won't stop. Who is this family? A beam of light cuts through the rain. Yumi and Romi approach the bodies sprawled on the ground, their flashlights sweeping across the mud. Jin is already hidden in the shadows, crouched low, breath shallow. He tells himself not to think, not to question. The only way out is to kill them all. His mind drifts to the cards. What's left? The darts, the laptop, the red mailbox. 3 objects, 3 more kills. For a split second, Yumi's gaze fixes in his direction. He darts under a rock, heart hammering. Romi steps closer, knife glinting in her hand, her gaze sharp. But after a long pause, she tells Yumi there's nothing, and sends her to fetch a stretcher for the bodies. When Yumi disappears into the night, Romi calls softly for Jin to come out. To his surprise, she commends him almost warmly for what he's done. She says they should talk in the treehouse. Inside, she shrugs off her raincoat and lets the knife clatter to the floor. Then she lifts up her sweater, showing herself defenseless, inviting him to check. She closes the distance, her hand rising to his face, voice low and coaxing. She suggests they leave the island together. Her lips press onto his, but Jin shoves her away, his hand snapping to the dartboard on the floor. He plucks one free and grips it tight. The change in her eyes is immediate, fear flooding her face. He cups her head in one hand and drives the dart into her skull. Romi crumples to the floor. As the door shuts behind him, he doesn't look back. He mutters that only Yumi and the mother remain. Yet lying on the floor of the treehouse, Romi's lips twitch into a smile. The door slides open again, and Jin crouches over her body. He tilts his head, almost amused, telling her there's no headache and no photo appearing on the cards. Romi's eyes snap open. She whips backward, knife in hand, and yanks the dart free from her skull. Then she lunges. Jin reacts instantly, spraying her with the psychedelic mist he stole from the mother. Her body convulses, her eyes go wild. She thrashes, lost in a frenzy. Before he can press his advantage, the treehouse rattles. A beehive smashes against the floor. Yumi's voice outside, mocking. As the door slams shut, the buzzing fills the air, wings slicing against his ears as bees swarm. Jin hurls himself out the window, catching the swing's pole on the way down. His fingers slip against the wet wood. Below, Yumi is waiting, cattle gun raised, the valve hissing. A single bee lands on his finger, He screams in terror, causing Yumi to laugh below. A gunshot rips through the air. Yumi collapses as Tai stands over her, his rifle smoking. Then pain hits Jin as the stinger sinks in and his body slips. But without hesitation, Tae dives in, cushioning his fall just before he crashes to the ground. As they struggle to regain their senses, Yumi staggers upright, shrieking at Tae for daring to shoot her. Jin, confused, asks why Tae is helping him. Tae's reply is calm, almost cold. Jin is the first to make it this far. He might just pull it off, escaping the island. Tae opens fire again, each shot forcing Yumi back a step, until she charges and the last one sends her sprawling. Jin doesn't hesitate. He lunges forward, looming over her just as she hits the ground, the dart clenched in his hand. The cattle gun's noose hisses against his thigh as she fires, but he grits through the pain and drives the dart into her skull. The card in his pocket shifts. Yumi's face appears. Pain rips through his head. Another memory intruding. The youngest girl from the pig farm, brimming with curiosity, asking him absurd questions. Her face, blending with Yumi's childish grin. Grief crushes him. He feels like his chest is splitting open. Back in Tai's cabin, Jin confronts him with the photos. Tae says he sees them, proof that Jin isn't crazy, but Tae scoffs that he is still a psychopathic killer. Fury twists Jin's face. He accuses Tae of spying on him, of manipulating him from the start, of pushing him to prove his worth by slaughtering the family. Tae doesn't deny it. A smile forms on his lips. He tells Jin that if he finishes this, if he proves his worth, then he will tell him everything. Later, in the bunker where the mother sits helplessly, Jin spins her chair to face the screens. On the monitors, Romy is still moving, clawing her way out of the treehouse, but Jin barely looks at her. He taunts the mother instead, asking whether she wants to die first or watch her daughter die. The mother finally breaks, pleading for him to just leave. She tells him to take the boat in the barn, but the word alone makes his skin crawl. He remembers what he saw there, the pigs with human faces and the girl from his phone. Then Tae enters and hands him the laptop, and when he waves it over her head, her eyes betray her. Fear glints there, faint but real, and Jin grins. He raises the device over her, even as she pleads, and brings it down. Once, twice, then again and again, until the night echoes with the wet crack of metal against bone. Another card shifts. Another memory. A woman serving tea, her gentle face blending into the mother's. Again, the grief. Again, the unbearable ache. He tells himself only one remains. Romy. On the monitors, she drags a boat from the barn toward the shore. Then, in an instant, Jin bolts out the cabin. Back in the bunker, Tae watches Romy through the screen. Behind him, a broken speaker crackles to life. Voices hiss and scream, insisting Jin can't be allowed to finish this, that he must die a grisly death. Tae stands in the glow of the monitors as the room fills with pig-headed figures, their chants rising to a roar. The scene shifts. Jin pants at the edge of the beach where his nightmare began. He thanks Romy for dragging the boat out of the barn, hefting the mailbox onto his shoulder. Sweat streaks her face as she begs him to let her go. He wonders aloud if it would make any difference. Perhaps she can't leave the island at all? She calls him crazy. He says he'll find out after he kills her. The sharpened tip lifts toward her, and her face twists in terror, tears spilling as she screams for him to stay back. With a mock apology, Jin lunges, and the chase begins. Romy sprinting down the shoreline, Jin close behind, grinning wider with every scream. Silence falls except for the tide. Standing over her motionless body, Jin stares down at the last card. Slowly, her image burns onto it, her body impaled by the mailbox. He laughs, declaring it done, that he's killed them all, yet tears stream down his face. Unstoppable even as he grins, memories force their way in. A young woman at the farm, reading quietly, her face soft in the sun. The vision wavers, overlaps, until it's Romy by the window with a book in her hands. The weight of it breaks him, and he collapses to his knees, whispering to himself if this is truly the end. He grits his teeth, as if deciding, and raises his arms toward the sky, shouting that it's done. He's proven himself. Jin, the serial killer, has killed them all. His voice echoes off the water, carried into the void. But the ocean offers no answer. Only waves, only silence. His arms drop, the triumph hollow. A low buzz shatters the stillness. His phone glows with an unknown number. He answers, and everything dissolves. Jin blinks, and he's in a classroom. Jin notices two kids comparing their mother's lunchboxes. Behind them sits Jinu, until he realizes it isn't Jinu, but himself. Young Jin. The kids invite him to join, but in his mind, their smiles twist into mockery. No lunchbox, no mother. He snaps. Shouting that he does have a mom, he lunges, hands around a boy's throat, repeating it over and over in a rage. Jin grabs his shoulder to pull him back, but young Jin vanishes. Jin then sees two men talking. One delivers bad news. Jin is showing signs of delusion, convinced classmates are bullying him when it's all in his head. He urges treatment. Across the desk, the assemblyman slams his hand, then tosses him an envelope. Elections are looming. Treatment can wait. For now, silence is what matters. As the assemblyman strides toward Jin, he unbuckles his belt and snaps it taut. Jin freezes. Beside him, young Jin appears, trembling and apologizing that he lashed out because they'd said he had no mother. The father sneers that he doesn't, that he's just like her, trying to ruin everything. Then the belt comes down, strike after strike until the buckle drips with blood. He wishes Jin had never been born. The door slams, leaving Jin and young Jin crumpled on the floor, swallowed by darkness. The memory shifts. Jin arrives at the pig farm. For the first time, young Jin is surrounded by warmth. Siblings, parents, even Jinu, the boy in the pig mask with his doll. But the hunger inside Jin doesn't fade, it grows. As he settles in, he notices bruises on Jinu and asks if he's being bullied, then slyly points out how his parents never seem to notice. The words leave Jinu uneasy, apologizing as if he were at fault. Watching from outside the window, Jin wonders why Jinu would go around wearing something like that. Later, Jin takes Jinu's doll, pretending not to know it was his. When Jinu protests, Jin twists it back on him, calling him selfish for getting upset over a toy, even threatening to tell Mom. Jinu snaps that she's his mother, not Jin's. Jin backpedals, saying he forgot he had no mother himself, and that everyone had been so kind. He almost believed she really was his. Guilt seeps in, and Jinu apologizes, offering the doll and telling him he can call her Mom, too. The two walk off hand in hand. Not long after, they're cornered by older kids. Jinu is beaten, mocked for his family's stench. Jin stands up for him, though not with fists, with words. He whispers of a giant grinder back at the farm, how easy it would be to slip poison into a meal, or catch them alone and feed them to the machine. His eyes make the bullies hesitate. Later still, the two sit outside a convenience store. Jin's face is swollen with bruises, but Jinu smiles, telling him he's brave. As he speaks, the pig mask twists dark, voice shifting. When are you going to do it? When will you grind them up? Jin blinks, and everything is normal again. They laugh and carry on as if nothing happened, but the shadow of that moment lingers. From a distance, Jin watches it all. Time skips forward. News arrives that Jin's father, the assemblyman, has died. At the funeral, Jinu consoles young Jin, but he shakes his head. That's not my father. Then the man from the pig farm steps forward. Jin produces a test paper, full marks written across the top, and thrusts it at him, desperate for approval. The farmer embraces him with tears in his eyes. He's proud of Jin. They all are. For a moment, Jin's world glows, but in his mind, the father's face twists, whispering that he wished Jin were his son. He wished Jin were Jinu. In the corner, the pig-masked boy tilts his head. Jin stares at him. The thought festers. Even in games, when the father calls Jinu's name, both boys answer in unison. Jinu, puzzled, asks why he responded. He isn't Jinu, but Jin stares blankly, unable to admit that deep down, he already believes he is. Jin runs across the yard, clutching the pig doll. He declares that everyone loves him. Mother, father, brothers and sisters, even his best friend Jinu. For a moment, he basks in it, drunk on belonging. He sees his best friend walking away and chases, asking to play together. But Jinu stops. He turns and says no. His voice hardens. Jin is a liar. He isn't Jinu. He's nothing but an abandoned orphan. The pig mask twists, eyes hollow, voice low and cruel. He asks if Jin knows why he was abandoned. It's because he's crazy. The words ignite a rage. Jin charges, shoving Jinu hard against the pigpen fence. The doll slips from his hands and falls into the dirt. A jagged nail juts from the wood. Jinu collapses, the pigs rattling behind the boards. Blood seeps from the back of his skull as his body goes still. Jin stumbles back, the shock hitting harder than the blood. He crumples to the ground, trembling. A voice inside tells him he's killed the only friend he had. Behind the fence, the pigs stir. Their eyes gleam red, their snouts pressed to the gaps, rattling the boards as if they'd seen it all. Then come the voices, low at first, then swelling. A chorus of grunts and words twisted together. They call him a murderer. They say he was jealous. He wanted to be Jinu. He wanted Jinu's family, Jinu's place, Jinu's love. The accusations pile on, turning into condemnations, louder, heavier, until they drown out everything else. Jin clamps his hands over his ears, screaming through tears, begging them not to look at him like that. 2 weeks pass. The family scours the forest, combing every thicket, even through rain. Their voices grow hoarse, their steps frantic, but Jinu never appears. Even the police begin to waver, telling them it's unlikely he's still alive. The mother collapses in despair. Minu lashes out at the officers, refusing to accept it. Off to the side, Jin stays silent. His eyes drift toward the grinder. He whispers to them not to worry. He'll be an even better Jinu. But things change. When he holds out a test paper to the father, eager to prove himself again, the man only walks away. A missing person flyer drifts into Jin's hands, Jinu's face staring back. To him, the boy is a stranger. He crumples the paper and tosses it aside, muttering that he doesn't know him. And when the mother shouts Jinu's name in her nightmare, Jin enters her room, bright-eyed, asking if she dreamed of him. He calls her mom, clutching at her affection. The real Jinu has already been erased. Then fate turns crueler still. One rainy evening, the family receives a call that someone may have found Jinu. Their van speeds down a mountain road, but a landslide breaks loose, and in an instant, the vehicle is crushed. At the crash site, a stretcher bears the mother's lifeless body. The family is broken. The father locks himself in his room, hollow and unmoving. Jin knocks, yearning for his attention, but the voice on the other side is bitter. He says all of this began when Jin came here. That Jin tried, but it doesn't matter. He can never be Jinu. Shut out and twisted by his own delusions, Jin finally runs from the farm, never to return. Time skips forward. Jin grows into a young man, but the voices never leave him. Whispers follow him, through crowded classrooms, empty alleys, even in silence. To him, everyone knows. He's an abandoned orphan, a liar, a murderer. He finds a girlfriend, brief warmth in his fractured life. But one day, outside the bathroom, he overhears her on the phone. In his mind, she's telling someone he's worthless, dangerous, that she'll leave him soon. When she steps out, Jin confronts her, eyes wild, demanding to know what she said. She insists it was nothing, but in his head, her voice sneers, "You're just a murderer." Later, she lies crumpled in an alley. Jin stands over her, panting, muttering that she should have watched her mouth. By now he had forgotten everything. His father, the family on the pig farm. But one feeling he never forgot. The thrill. The same rush he felt with Jinu. The pulse of murder. It takes root. From then on, the killings blur together. Strangers, classmates, nameless figures. Each death feeding the mania. By the time he pushes a man off a cliff, Jin can no longer tell if he kills because he hears voices. Or hears voices so that he can kill. Then came the mistake. One victim was no ordinary man, but a politician. The murder made headlines, and Jin was forced to vanish, to hide. He wanders until he finds an isolated inn, deep in the mountains. A red mailbox marks the path. At the gate, the innkeeper greets him kindly, inviting him to stay as long as he likes. Jin settles into the inn. The place is warm, familiar in ways he can't explain. Romy flutters around him with disarming warmth, slipping into his room with towels, hugging his arm as if they've known each other for years. Minu keeps his distance, working silently with tools in the yard. Yumi lingers at the edges, sharp-eyed, whispering cruel jabs at her sister, and the father watches over it all with steady calm. It is the farm, and yet it isn't. At dinner, the family bows their heads in prayer beneath a mounted stag head. Just like the farm, the resemblance claws at him, and a headache splits his skull. The father offers him something. Painkillers, he says. Jin stares at the strange folded paper, unsure if he dares take it. A week passes. Jin finally speaks with Mainu, who bluntly admits he doesn't like talking to people, but might consider getting along if Jin helps with the work. Together they haul boxes from the shed, and Jin uncovers a boy band poster. The sight stirs a vague memory of the farm mother, her fondness for Tae, though Jin can't quite place it. Later, Jin finds Romy by the window, a book in her hands, sunlight pooling around her as she beckons him closer. She teases that seeing him help around the house makes him feel like family, though with mock irritation, she adds that she doesn't want him to only feel like family. Before Jin can untangle the hint, she blurts it out. She likes him. The words stun him, but he admits he feels the same. She invites him to her room. Inside, they share beers, her laughter bubbling close. A picture on the wall catches his eye, an island, drawn in sweeping strokes. She boasts she drew it herself. Islands fascinate her, she explains. Places completely shut away from the rest of the world, yet wide open with freedom, a duality she loves. Jin listens, her words weaving into him. For a fleeting moment he feels unshackled, weightless. He tells her he likes it too. Romy muses about writing somewhere so tranquil, her words blurring with echoes of the girl who once read books. Her cheeks flush as she thrusts a notebook into his hands, embarrassed but eager. Inside are her poems. One is about an island, her unrequited fondness for it. He reads it aloud, his voice halting, and when he looks up, Romy is glowing with equal parts pride and shyness. "Hold me," she whispers. He does. Her hair brushes against his cheek, and in that fragile embrace, the present collapses into memory. A farm girl perched in a tree, reading to herself, blurred and unreachable. He calls her name, Romy, and promised to build her a treehouse. Just as she turns to ask who's Romy, Minu's stare catches him through the window. Later, when Jin confronts him, Minu denies even knowing who Romy is. He also asks why Jin keeps calling him Minu. Confusion unravels him. Who is Romy? Who is Minu? He staggers into the woods, dazed, and finds Yumi watching beetles fight, holding them up and asking which will win. Her face twists with the image of the youngest farm girl. He bolts terrified. The narrator cuts in. He came to this remote place to hide, only to find them waiting, like some sick twist of fate. He ran from the pig farm family, only to run headfirst into another version of them, and soon enough, both families became indistinguishable in his mind. The family and the farm blur together. He sees Jinu in the pig mask, accusing finger pointed, declaring that he's the one who killed him. Soon Jin is certain. They're all after him. The mother's tea is poison. Yumi's wasps are traps. Mainu's sickle is for his throat. Even the father's medicine, a drug to drive him insane. The paranoia consumes him. One by one, he strikes them down. The mother with a laptop, Yumi with her dart, Mainu tangled in his chain, and the father crushed with a pipe. When Romy walks in on him, horror freezes her face. She flees. He stalks after her, dragging the red mailbox post from the gate and sharpening its tip along the ground as he runs. Romy stumbles into the two tourists. She tries to warn them, but Jin is already behind, smiling like a child. By the time the scene stills, the tourists lie broken, and Romy lies in a pool of blood, impaled on the pole. Jin weeps over her body, insisting that despite everything, he truly loved them. Back on the beach, Jin falls to his knees and realizes the island isn't real. It's a prison stitched from memories and unfulfilled desires. His own personal hell. He shouts into his phone, demanding the caller's name, demanding to know why he's being shown all this, but the line goes dead. Then Tae appears, congratulating him for finally remembering his childhood, something he'd never managed before. He breaks into wild laughter. Jin grabs him, desperate to know who he really is, but Tae cracks the rifle across his face and levels the barrel at his head. He says he has only one question, and Jin must answer with yes or no. If not, he'll die here. The question Jinu, the real Jinu from the pig farm, not the phantom from Jin's delusions, the boy who disappeared. Did Jin kill him? The scene cuts back to the night Jin ran from the pig farm. The farm father sits alone in his room, after telling Jin he could never be Jinu. He knows it was cruel, but he just couldn't take it anymore. Time skips forward. 12 years of silence, grief fermenting into rot. We find him now a broken man, disheveled and half-buried in beer bottles. At last, he steps outside. Sunlight washes over his face for the first time in years. The barn stands before him, unchanged, sealed in time like nothing ever happened. That night, he watches the news. A biotech company called BrainMate is testing a prototype that lets people enter another's mind. Still unstable, but real. The broadcast shifts to Tae, the boy band star, disgraced and missing after drug allegations. The father remembers how much his wife once adored him. He drains another glass, glares at the cross on his wall, cursing the god who abandoned him. Then a flash bulletin. Police link the Gang 1B and B murders and the killing of Assemblyman Cha to a single man, Jin Song, age 26. The suspect behind numerous other murders was captured after a shipwreck and now lies in a coma. The father freezes. The god he had just cursed has given his life a new purpose. At the hospital, the farm father leans over comatose Jin, shaking him, screaming for the truth. "Did you kill Jinu?" Staff rush in and pull him away. Days blur. He sneaks back through a service pipe, slipping into Jin's room under cover of night. For a moment he presses a hand over Jin's face, ready to end it, only to collapse in sobs. What if he didn't do it? Jin may be a monster now, but in his mind's eye the father still sees the boy, who only ever wanted to be loved. He can't bring himself to kill him, so he decides to wait. However long it takes, he will wait for Jin to wake and answer. Time passes. A doctor delivers devastating news. A brain tumor. With modern nanomedicine, it isn't fatal, but his mind will slowly slip away, piece by piece. The world moves forward. Jin Song, the ruthless serial killer, fades from headlines, then from memory altogether. Even the police abandon the case. Eventually, the government recommends euthanasia for the coma patient, but the father refuses. He offers to pay the bills himself. He needs the truth. And so he remains by Jin's bedside. One night, clutching the pig doll Jinu once loved, he breaks down in tears. He can't even remember his son's face anymore, and fears soon he won't recall the family he lost. All he wants is to see them one last time. A nurse overhears his cries and tells him it might be possible now. Technology exists to enter another person's mind. On the TV, Kim, the head of the Brain Mate Project, announces the breakthrough. The old man drops to his knees, weeping, praising the god he long forgotten. His chance has come, but the breakthrough was not so simple. The Brain Mate technology faltered, failing safety tests again and again. The father couldn't wait. His memories were already slipping. And so, he forced his way into the company's building, begging Kim, the project's lead, for just one chance to see his family. Kim explained the risks were too high. Divers could die inside the host's mind, and the host could see them as intruders. Several divers had already suffered severe shock. Despite the father's pleas, Kim refused. Later, in a cafe, the desperate father corners Kim again. When money failed, he turned to blackmail. A single photo, enough to ruin him. Kim called him a madman, but eventually agreed. Still, he asked, how could a broken farmer possibly get hold of Jin Song, the serial killer? The answer was already set in motion. Money changed hands in a subway station. A deal struck in shadows. The father tells Kim not to worry. He already has Jin. The father steps into a virtual space, blinking at how real it feels. Kim explains, this is the base camp, the staging ground before entering Jin's mind. Ahead, a crowd of figures waits. Kim tells him to choose a skin, because Jin has erased the father from memory. He cannot appear as himself. To reach Jin, he'll need a mask, an avatar drawn from someone Jin once saw, whether a stranger, classmate, or even a celebrity. The father studies the hollow shells around him. Then he points at one. Tae, the idol, that's who he'll be. A screen flashes. A choice to proceed. The farmer clicks, yes. He opens his eyes on a beautiful island. The sky is impossibly clear, the air warm. The island is breathtaking, so real it almost deceives him. But because he knows it isn't, the oddities surface, the weather shifting without warning, nights that last too long, and a moon that never moves. On his second day of wandering, he stumbles on the strangest sight, a solitary house in the middle of an otherwise empty island, and that's when he first sees Jin, staggering toward the house, delirious and exhausted. Then, without warning, Minu swings a shovel into Jin's skull. Jin crumples lifeless to the dirt. The farmer gasps. Minu turns and begins climbing toward him. The farmer trembles. When he dares look again, Minu is staring straight at him, recognizing the face he wears. Tae, the idol. From then on, the farmer, now seen as Tae, is put to work around the house. He wonders if he'd already be dead had he chosen any other skin. From a distance, he spots Yumi and the mother. They look strangely familiar. the people Jin murdered at the Gang 1B and B, and yet, here they carry his own family's names. Another Jin approaches him, but Tae snaps, telling him to get lost. Later, that same Jin lies bloodied in the forest. The B&B father lifts his shotgun and orders Tai to clean it up. Tae wonders why. Why Jin would subject himself to such cruelty, to be hunted, tormented, and slaughtered, only to wash back up on the beach, to begin again. Could this be guilt? He hurls the body into the shed. Behind only corpses, Jin upon Jin. Tae seizes one by the shoulders and screams for answers. Then one day, they appeared before him, figures with pig heads. They say they are Jin's victims, and yet Jin doesn't even know they exist. All he ever cares about is that family. They sneer that watching Jin die, again and again, has been their greatest joy. But now they want more. More deaths, more pain, more. Tae flees, their oink swelling into a chorus of death cries behind him. They aren't real, he thinks. Just projections of Jin's guilt, twisted into monsters to justify his killings. Then, a boy steps out of the clearing. Tae freezes. It's Jin. Young Jin. The boy warns him, "Be careful what you say around Jin, or this world could collapse." When the boy says his name is Jinu, something in Tai snaps. He tells the boy that no matter how hard he searches, he can't find his family. Jin has erased them. Yet another family wears their names, punishing him endlessly. If this is guilt, then why? Is it because he really did kill Jinu? Tae spits that this boy is not Jinu. The child vanishes, leaving Tae shaking with fury. If he ever sees him again, he swears to kill him. In the real world, the farmer begins to regret his decision. There is nothing for him in Jin's mind. No family, no truth, only distorted memories twisted by guilt. But even as the thought gnaws at him, he knows he can't turn back now. Back inside Jin's world, things change. Bit by bit, the father begins handing Tae drugs, and needle marks bloom on his arms. Tae realizes it's because Jin remembers the idol's scandals. In this place, even stray memories can reshape reality. A cabin appears on the hill when Jin suspected he was being watched. The family knows nothing about it. Tae moves in, and it becomes his bunker, his prison. He spends his days watching Jin die. Again and again, the pigheads crowd as monitors, jeering, demanding more. At first he resists. Then slowly, he joins them, betting on how long each new Jin will last. Bit by bit, he becomes consumed by this Pigpen. Time passes, and he begins to resemble the real Tae he once saw on the news. In anguish, he smashes the mirror, cursing himself for ever believing he could find truth in this fake world. A voice calls from the shattered glass, "I'm not fake, I'm real." The memory breaks. Tae stands before Jin with his rifle raised. But he's not Tae anymore. He's the farmer, the one Jin remembered. Jin calls him Dad, tears running down his face, saying he remembers everything now. The farmer tells him not to call him that. Just answer, "Did he kill Jinu?" Jin begins to shake, sobbing uncontrollably, until he whispers through the tears, "Yes." The farmer presses the barrel to Jin's head, realizing it had been him all along. His voice drops, asking what happened to Jinu. A memory flickers, young Jin wondering if he should have used the grinder instead. Behind it lies the Pigpen, where Jinu's body rests beneath the grates. The farmer lets out a dry laugh at the irony. Jinu had been there the whole time. Jin lowers his head, admitting he deserves to die, as the trigger begins to tighten. But the barrel drops instead. The farmer has one last question. He has spent a long time here, watching Jin die countless times, watching him slowly slip back into the serial killer he once was. Yet he cried when he killed the family, and he's crying now. He wants to know why. A trembling voice reveals the answer. He only wants to be forgiven, and it tears him apart knowing he never will. Jin lifts his head, and the pig people surround him. They tell him they never mocked him, never hurt him. It was his own suspicions that drove him to kill them, and then he wiped them from his memory. Jin keeps repeating that he's sorry, that he didn't have the courage to face them, that he let the darkness inside take control because it was easier than facing his fear. As he speaks, their masks begin to crack. One by one, the pig faces shatter, revealing the people beneath, the victims he killed. His girlfriend steps forward, her expression solemn. She says he's finally acknowledging them, but in the end, they're only fragments of his memory. The real victim, she says, will never forgive him. Then they fade into nothing. From the distance comes the sound of an engine, a boat. Jin stumbles to his feet. shouting and waving his arms, calling out that he's here. The farmer watches in silence. He thinks of all the unspeakable acts Jin has committed, sins that can never be washed away, no matter how many times he dies on this island. Then he raises his rifle, determined to replay this hell again and again. Before the trigger pulls, a voice calls out behind him. The farmer turns and freezes. Jinu stands there, no longer wearing the pig mask. He smiles softly, thanking his father for finding him. The farmer drops the rifle and rushes forward to embrace his son, telling him how much he missed him. Tears flood their faces. Jinu tells him everyone is waiting. Beyond the clearing, the farmer sees them, the whole family standing together, their faces gentle, patient, as if they had been waiting all this time. He looks at them eagerly, but his smile fades as he remembers Jin. He picks up the rifle and takes aim. Jin deserves to suffer for eternity for what he did to Jinu, but Jinu steps between them. He tells his father he has his own life to live, that he shouldn't imprison himself here. He wants his father to be happy. Jinu reaches out and pulls him gently toward the waiting family. The rifle drops one final time. The farmer says he's sorry for keeping them waiting, and they embrace him all at once. Then Jinu tells his father to look. In the distance, another family watches. The B&B family, each holding their pig masks at their sides. The two fathers meet each other's gaze and share a silent nod. The B&B family turns and slowly fades away. Suddenly, the ground trembles beneath their feet. Cracks spread across the island, splitting through trees, soil, and sky alike. The world begins to fall apart, its purpose fulfilled. Jin has remembered everything. The farmer holds his family close one last time. No matter what happens beyond this place, he swears he will never forget them. The light around them flickers and fades, and he disconnects from Jin's mind. Jin watches from the boat as the island crumbles into the sea. He stares at the empty horizon and begins to laugh. It's over, he tells himself. He's no longer the monster he once was. Then, from the cabin behind him, a voice answers. That's bullshit. Jin freezes. Then, his phone buzzes violently, an unknown number flashing on the screen. Behind him, another Jin appears, congratulating him for remembering everything. Jin realizes this is the one who left him the clues. The other Jin reveals himself as the desire that was locked away, the desire to kill. But as time passed, that barrier began to crumble. He mocks Jin's fake penance, a pathetic attempt to overcome guilt. Such a coward doesn't deserve to wake from the coma. It should be him. Jin grabs his collar, insisting he's truly repented. The other Jin laughs, saying that if it were true, he wouldn't even be here. He taunts that once Jin wakes up, he'll never survive the weight of his crimes. Only he can, because he's the real deal, the real Jin. Jin lashes out and punches him, but the other doesn't even flinch. He says Jin has always been weak, never once able to stop him. The only reason Jin ever took control was because they got shipwrecked. But today, he'll be the one to leave. Jin steadies himself and faces him. He says he's ready, and he'll accept whatever punishment awaits in the real world. Waves crash against the boat as the two Jins face each other. Then they move.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 yo, go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my grave. To the system, I don't wanna be a slave. I've been doing shit my way, or the highway.
Eventually, one Jin drags the other across the deck and heaves the body over the edge. It splashes into the dark waters below, sinking deeper and deeper. He stands there for a moment, watching the surface grow still, before collapsing onto the deck. The ocean begins to stir again. Dark clouds gather overhead, swirling into a single mass. A wave rises on the horizon, towering above the boat. A heartbeat later, the world goes white as the tsunami swallows everything whole. When Jin opens his eyes, he's lying on a bed inside a small apartment. He sits up slowly, realizing where he is. The farmer's apartment? In the real world. He's older now, face-lined and weary. He steps outside into the corridor and takes a long breath, sunlight spilling across his face, and he smiles. Down below, police cars gather at the building's entrance, officers rushing inside. At the pig farm, the farmer lifts a shovel. Before long, he uncovers Jinu's body, and carries him gently, apologizing for making him wait. In the epilogue, Kim, the project lead, visits Jin in prison. He studies the man sitting before him through the glass. Only one question remains. Which Jin survived on the boat? The one who repented, or the one who was a monster?